You wouldn't think United could make life any worse for itself right now. Its CEO has been forced to apologise and pledge a full review into an incident where, well, a passenger was forcibly removed, bloodied and screaming from a flight. Amid growing outrage over the shocking footage of David Dow being dragged over the aisle by security staff so his seat could be given to a crew member, more stories are emerging of the way in which the airline threatens to remove passengers when it's overbooked. And it's not just in cattle class. United Airlines appears to be an equal opportunities bully. According to 59-year-old Jeff Ferns, he was a United passenger last week.
Bought the ticket. It was a full fare first-class ticket. Checked in online the day before. Arrived at the gate about an hour before boarding. Boarded, with first-class passengers. And about 15 minutes after boarding, a gate agent came and asked me if I was Jeff Ferns. I said I was. And she said, "You'll have to deplane immediately." And I said, "Well, wait a minute. Why?" And she indicated that they'd oversold first class. They'd had a change in equipment, and so there were fewer seats, and that I had to leave. And I said, "Well, wait a minute. I'm already on board the plane. I paid full freight. I'm not an upgrade. This is not a mileage ticket or anything of that nature. I paid full fare." And she said, "Well, we have a priority list, and regrettably, you're at the bottom of it, and you'll have to deplane so we can seat someone else." And I said, "Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. I'm already on board the plane. If somebody else came late, why are you ousting me from my seat in order to give them a seat?" And she said, "That's just the way it works. We have the right to prioritize our clients, our customers, and you'll have to leave." And I said, "I don't think you have that right." And she said, "No, we do." And I said, "Well, that doesn't sound right to me." So she exited the aircraft, and 5 minutes later came back and said, "Nope, you have to deplane, and you have to deplane right now." And I said, "I'm not voluntarily giving up my seat." And she said, "If you don't leave the airplane right now and come into the gate area, we'll have security come and escort you off." And so the guy who was sitting next to me, apparently a long time, frequent flyer with United, said, "Look, these guys get really nasty. I've seen this happen before. I wish I'd gotten his name, but you should just go do it." And I said, "Well, at 59 years old, I'm not going to wrestle around, in the cabin of an aircraft." And so walked off. They proceeded to give my seat to another first-class passenger that apparently had higher priority or higher status, and was told, "But good news, Mr. Ferns, we can reaccommodate you by putting you in the last middle seat we have available in the back of the aircraft."
Sorry, Jeff, can I cut in here?
Of course, I'm sorry.
So you were threatened with physical removal. If you didn't go, someone was going to come and take you off.
That is absolutely correct.
And the whole process sounds so completely lacking in charm or gratitude. I mean, we often talk about entitlement. The entitlement sounds like it was all United's, that they were entitled to remove you, that they were entitled to do it as charmlessly as possible. What was the person's tone or manner as she was trying to get you off the plane?
Very peremptory. I mean, it was initially, this is the way it is, and you need to comply. And when I was not complying, it became very strident. It was, "This will happen, or we'll make it happen." And interestingly enough, I will tell you, the flight crew, once the aircraft got underway, 3 members of the flight crew came up to me, and all of them apologized to me and said that we saw what happened. You shouldn't have been treated that way. That was incredibly high-handed. That's not right. And we're sorry, and if anything you want, food, drink, just let us know. It's on us, which I thought was very gracious of them. But they also made it clear that they had no control over this process, that it was the gate agent, and that, indeed, it's not even the gate agent. They have a priority list that apparently comes from someplace. How it is compiled, it wasn't made transparent. But they were just apologetic. But at the time, the gate agent, the person responsible for sort of ousting me, made it very clear that this was going to be her way, and there was no attempt to explain, no offer of compensation, no request for volunteers, nothing.
And there was a sense, both from her manner and from the man who was sitting next to you who said, "I've seen this before," that this was almost kind of pro forma stuff, that this was reasonably routine, regular and common.
Yeah, I certainly got the impression that this was not a one-off event.
And so when you saw the video of this poor fellow actually physically being dragged out, which may have happened to you if you'd not gone, did you just think, "Wow, this is how my story would have finished"?
Fairly shocking. In fact, my wife even indicated you should have just held out a little longer and you could have gotten on TV. So,
I don't know about getting on TV on those terms.
Yeah, no kidding, not on those terms.
Not on those terms.
I mean, that in fact is what prompted me reaching out to the LA Times just to say I had an eerily similar experience, albeit it wasn't one that ended up in my physical removal because at the end I relented, but it was exactly the same mannerisms, the same intonation of our way or the highway.
Now, your story has an eccentric ending, and that is that you got to fly. They said there is a seat available down the back. You'd paid for
Correct.
A first-class seat, but they gave you a seat. But it was a middle seat, and that's a crucial detail, because who were you between?
Well, it was a very and I don't want to. They were nice enough, but they were having a bit of a colloquy back and forth. So, it was not really possible for us or for me to sort of do anything productive on the flight.
So wait a second, you were seated between a couple who were having some discord, to put it politely.
Let's just say they were having a discussion. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here.
So sorry to laugh, because it's disgraceful. But when you hear the phrase, fly the friendly skies, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think they get points, for the misnomer there. It's clearly an oxymoron. That is not the friendly skies by any stretch of the imagination.